Just let me know.
Get him, ask for Magali. I'm going to run up and get
That's okay, I'm fine. Whoops. Good afternoon. The Memphis Landmarks Commission is hereby called to order for its regularly scheduled meeting of October the 26th, 2023. My name is Cindy Tucker, and I'm the chair of the commission. Mr. Brett Ragsdale serves as executive secretary of the commission. Mr. Ragsdale, may I get a roll call?
Yes, Madam Chair. Mr. Winter?
Present.
Mr. Walker?
Present.
Ms. Love?
Here.
Ms. Strong?
Present.
Chair Tucker?
Here.
Mr. Gill?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The Memphis Landmarks Commission and the local historic district provisions are established to ensure preservation of structures that are of historic value to Memphis. Our function is to preserve significant resources, enhance community pride, and foster civic beauty and ensure compatibility within designated historic districts. The Commission is authorized to review projects and determine their appropriateness based on the design review guidelines. At this time, I would like to swear in the staff. You may remain seated. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from the last month's meeting?
Motion to approve minutes.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did I hear an aye? Okay. Mr. Secretary, please provide us a report, if there is one, for this month, and then explain the procedures for this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a report, but I do want to note that we do have one additional planner with us today who joined us last week, Mr. Eric Howell, and so we want to welcome him, and you'll likely be seeing his face and presenting some cases in the future, so welcome to him. And with that, I'll go into the procedure for the meeting. The procedure for this meeting will be as follows. I will introduce each case as listed on the agenda. Copies of the agenda are found on the right podium. For each case, staff of the Division of Planning and Development will give a presentation. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present his or her case. After the applicant's presentation, the commission will hear first from those speakers in support of the application, then from those speakers in opposition to the application, and the speakers will have 3 minutes each, and then finally, the applicant will have 3 minutes to provide rebuttal. These times do not include time for questions from and answers to members of the commission. The chair may provide additional time provided both sides are given an equal amount of additional time. All parties who wish to provide testimony to the commission will be sworn in by the chair. If a member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a particular case on today's agenda, he or she will need to fill out speaker's cards for the record. Speaker's cards are available at the front podium. Once filled out, speaker's cards can be submitted to any DPD planner at the left podium. We do not need speaker's cards from the applicants since their names are already part of the record. After all parties have been heard, the commission will close the public hearing, make a motion, and then deliberate on the case. All motions by this commission will be made in the affirmative. The bylaws governing the commission require the affirmative vote of a majority of the attending members to approve an application, and the commission may also vote to hold an application for a period of 1 month. Madam Chair, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all applicants have been notified of this hearing, and all notice requirements have been fulfilled.
Thank you. At this point, the commission will establish a consent agenda. To establish the consent agenda, the secretary will call out each eligible case. If any member of the audience or the commission objects to a case being placed on the consent agenda, he or she should do so by a show of hands, then the secretary reads the case. Once the consent agenda is established, the commission will vote on all cases placed on the consent agenda as a whole and will not hold individual public hearings on each case. Mr. Secretary, which items on our agenda are eligible?
Madam Chair, I would want to make one note on the agenda. Item number 2, 375 Stonewall Street required a variance for it to be heard, and it did not get the variance yesterday at Board of Adjustment, so it is actually withdrawn. So that's just for the record. Just to note
thank
that.
you.
And so the items that eligible for consent are as follows. Item number 7, COA 2023-146, 1063 Fleece Street in the Cooper Young Historic District. Item number 8, COA 2023-155, 1631 Harbert Avenue in the Central Gardens Historic District. Item number 11, COA 2023-162, 1678 North Parkway in the Evergreen Historic District. Item number 12, COA 2023-164, 1155 Forest Avenue in the Speedway Terrace Historic District. Item number 13, COA 2023-166, 1162 Forest Avenue in the Speedway Terrace Historic District. And item number 14, COA 2023-167, 909 North McNeil Street in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as established by the secretary?
I had a question.
You're off.
My question was for COA 2023-164 and COA 2023-166. Were there any, were the conditions added or not?
We did receive the email, but we've already got those conditions were either covered in the drawings or in our conditions. So
For the consistency with the windows and porch.
Right, and so those conditions, those concerns were already included either in the drawings or on the conditions.
Okay.
So would you like to hear those, or you?
So it will be consistent, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yes. The windows will be.
Okay. Thank
Yes.
you. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? I didn't hear one if we did.
I make a motion to consent.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'd like to remind the commissioners, by voting for the consent agenda, he or she affirms that he or she has read the staff report and is in full agreement with the conditions. Mr. Secretary, can I get a roll call?
Yes, Madam Chair, and let the record note that Ms. Doss has joined us as well. So, thank you. Ms. Doss.
Yes.
Mr. Gill. Yes. Ms. Love. Ms. Strong.
Yes.
Mr. Winter.
Yes.
Mr. Walken.
Yes.
And Chair Tucker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. If you were here for any of those cases just listed on the consent agenda, you have been approved. You don't have to remain at the meeting, but are welcome to stay for the remainder of the cases. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. At this point, I would like to state that the minor COA applications as listed on the agenda have been reviewed and approved by the Commission. The Commission will now continue with the regular hearing of the major COA applications as listed on the agenda Mr. Secretary, please call the first case of the regular agenda.
Item number 3, COA 2023-150, 984 East Rainbow Drive in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
It
Okay.
appears they may not be, so what we can do is we can roll it to the end, and if they show up, we can hear it then, and if not, we would hold it for.
Okay, thank you. To go on to the next.
The next one is item number 4, COA 2023-151, 1925 Union Avenue in the Central Gardens Historic District.
Is the applicant present? Thank you. State your name and address for the record.
My name's Cameron Taylor. I live at 1844 Peabody Avenue.
Okay, raise your right hand.
Sorry, yes,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Have you had a chance to read the staff report?
I have.
Are you in agreement with the staff report and the conditions?
All but one of the conditions.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and see the presentation.
Sure. Lucas Skinner with DPD. Good afternoon. This is COA 2023-151. This is part of the Union Station development on the south side on Linden, so part of the 1925 Union Avenue address. So the request is new construction for a multifamily townhouse development. And I'll keep this pretty brief. I can absolutely answer questions more on the back end, but the main condition that the applicant wanted to discuss was related to the condition for keeping the ground floor brick to remain unpainted. That's one that they wanted to discuss. So here on the screen we have the elevations. So the ground floor is pointed out to be king-size brick. Everything above will be siding. So we do have a condition number 3 to keep that brick unpainted. Again, I'll keep this really brief, so I'll be available for any questions if you have any of me, but otherwise I can let the applicant speak.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any questions for the staff? Okay, thank you. You have 5 minutes to talk about.
Hopefully I won't be that long. We have not made a decision whether we would like to paint the brick or not. There's a possibility we may not, but we don't want to be handcuffed by the staff saying that we are unable to if we decide to do so. Within 100 feet or so, there are 213 South Barksdale, 227 South Barksdale, 247 South Barksdale, 1983 Linden, all are painted brick houses. My house is 1844 Peabody, it's painted brick. 1850 Peabody is painted brick. 1796 Peabody is painted brick. You can drive down McLean either way, see more painted brick. You can drive further down Peabody, see painted brick on Harvard, Glenwood Place, Belvedere, Carvin, and so on and so forth. Painted brick is not an unusual circumstance in Central Gardens. I think about a year and a half ago, the Landmarks Committee approved 1882 Central obviously on Central Avenue for painted brick. I've spoken with Shelley Rainwater, who had the Landmarks Committee at Central Garden. She sent an email, Lucas, I don't know if you've seen it, it's only come recently. They have no problem with painted brick. I just don't see any reason why we should not be allowed to paint brick if we decide to do so. We may not, again, we may choose not to, but we shouldn't be limited in our options either, particularly since it's pretty commonplace in Central Gardens. And this is would not be a precedent-setting thing. The precedent has been set. There's painted brick everywhere, and including in close proximity.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners have questions? Go ahead.
Question for staff. What was the intent behind the condition to leave the brick unpainted?
So the guidelines say that no matter, considering this could be somewhat considered a slightly maybe more commercial type development. It's part of a more commercial development. Regardless of what type of building, the guidelines say that any new construction, that the brick needs to look like brick. I mean, of course, they have approved exceptions, but those are usually either retroactive or, come once a new building. So we just felt since this is an entirely new building, we don't mind if it's a colored brick, if it, anything like that, but just that the brick should appear to be brick.
Any other questions? Okay, is there anyone,
Well, anyway.
did you have a question?
I guess my question for staff is this version of the design guidelines and in previous versions of the design guidelines for Central Gardens, they have consistently stated that unpainted brick should remain unpainted, correct?
Correct, yes.
I have a question. Just, is there any consideration given to the fact that the brick selected is already not something that is a standard size brick, is not modular? As a king size brick, it's almost on that larger scale that almost does not really contextually look like the typical brick. So is there a possibility that there could be some coordination with, or some what's a good word for it? My brain is like compromise, I suppose, with the fact that the brick that's selected and that's being called out is already not really a brick in the standard sense.
Right. I would say that, I mean, given at least that it is, right, I mean, it's a slightly different size, but since it is brick, we thought that would be okay. This has obviously been the analysis for this was a little bit more interesting because, again, this is not just like one house that's being, around other homes. This is kind of a little bit of a different type of development. So in my personal opinion, we sort of went with a very flexible analysis. Like a lot of it, I would say, is maybe somewhat of a compromise. It's, I would say, definitely more of a, kind of on the nose, more of a modern design than we might try to allow at a site like this. But just given the rest of the context of the development as a whole that it's going to sit on, it's more transitional. So I would say, to get back to your question, that I believe us allowing that the king size brick is kind of the compromise, but we don't, I would say that's about where we would stop in terms of the compromise. We would still want it to look like brick. Now again, whether if it's, one example we've been talking internally in our office, like the Canopy Hotel here downtown, not that it's king size brick, but it's a dark brick, but it's still, it is brick. It's got the very modern metal siding, which I feel like is maybe a slightly similar aesthetic of what this design is going for, but it still is you can tell it's brick. It's not painted, is, clearly brick. And that's what I feel we're just trying to keep the materials to try and be as close to what the guidelines would allow for any other home or development.
Honestly, I was just curious about it. So you're cool. I
Do you have any
think
questions for him?
that's why I was like, let me redirect, because apologies for stepping out of the request and talking to the staff. But I do think that the aesthetic is in line with it. And the fact that you're coming before us before it's even being built, I think does definitely give you a lot more flexibility. So I'm not as opposed to the fact that, hey, you shouldn't paint the brick because it's early enough in the process where you can select the actual color of brick that you want. And it would not be an inhibition toward whatever choices that you do later on. So I'm not sure if the reckoning or even the reasoning that you feel that this particular condition is too prohibitive for you, because you're already in the process of planning for it. And I'm sure you're going to make that planning effort like before you even put anything in the ground. So I don't know if it's just more of a matter that you want to run it by when you actually do make the decision and cross that bridge then, because right now it just seems kind of like it's okay. Like just go with the unpainted brick and I'm sure you'll pick something really amazing. So I don't know, do you have color choices already selected for this project?
We have not gotten that far, and that's one of the reasons here. We don't want to be, as I said, handcuffed by.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, do you know how much flexibility they gave you?
I do.
I'm sorry, was that proper?
No, that's okay.
But
Because I
for
agree with
instance,
you.
Like I could be persuaded to go with queen size brick and the king size, and that doesn't bother me if that's an issue. That I mean, we have some flexibility.
Yeah.
I mean, we have been pretty flexible too. I want to point out, we could have had an exit, egress and ingress off of Linden, but Central Gardens didn't want that, and because of the traffic that's obviously there in Idlewild School during morning and afternoon pickup, and we're sensitive to that, so we've limited that to.
As you should. We really appreciate that.
And we were happy to do it.
Yeah. Because you're amazing. I know you. So that's
We've worked
very much
together.
appreciated.
Okay.
But that's,
All right.
yeah.
Any other questions of him? Okay, I'm going to now close. Did you have anything else you wanted to say first?
Okay.
Close it to the public hearing portion of this case. May I please get a motion from the commissioner?
I make a motion to approve so we can put this into discussion.
Okay.
Second.
All right, thank you. Okay. Discussion?
I don't mind the painted brick. I know only because of where the site is and then its own little island at the back of the Union Police Station.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's separate. It's really on a commercial lot that backs up with residential that's south of it. So I don't, either way is fine with me, but I don't mind the painted brick in this particular case.
Me as well, but I actually agree with her on that is from the ground up, and you could pick, like other places can't pick what they want as far as the type of brick, as far as the color of brick, this is something that you're doing on the front end.
Yeah.
That's my only beef with that thought
I
process.
probably shouldn't speak, but
No, we can't,
No.
not yet.
I'll also echo, I think that I think it's an interesting strategy to come before the commission and argue that you want to compete compared to the other properties that have painted brick, but nothing else about this project compares to the historic nature of the neighborhood. So I think that's an interesting strategy. I think that I would agree with Ms. Love and point out that brick has an infinite number of colors. So I don't think it inhibits your creativity. Have a recognized architect on board. He or she should be able to work within a design to achieve something that everybody can be happy with. And I think that staff's made an interesting point about holding something of the historic nature of the project to this project to make some comparison to the rest of the neighborhood. So I support leaving the brick unpainted, to leave the natural material.
Any other? Any other discussion? Okay, you want to stand with the motion? Okay, call for,
Ms. Doss,
Yes.
Ms. Love,
Yes.
Mr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Strong,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Winter,
Yes.
and Chair Tucker.
yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Thanks. Okay,
Our next case is item number 6, COA 2023-105, 836 North Avalon Street in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
okay, is the applicant present? Thank you. Okay, could you somebody come to the podium? Who's going to speak?
I'm going to translate for him.
Okay, I need both of y'all's names and addresses.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Néstor Simón, vivo en el 836 North Avalon Street, Memphis, Tennessee, 38107. Néstor Simón.
Nestor Simon, and his address is 836 North Avalon Street, Magali Ramirez with Planning and Development.
Okay, and what's your name?
Magali.
Okay, thank you. And I guess both of y'all? I don't know, one or both?
Ms. Ramirez is on staff at DPD,
Oh,
so she's
okay.
serving as, she's
Never
already sworn in.
Put your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Juro decir toda la verdad, más que la verdad.
Gracias.
He swears to say the truth.
Gracias. Okay. Has he seen the staff report?
¿Ya viste el reporte que hicieron? Yes.
Okay. Does he agree with all the conditions in the staff report?
¿Tú estás de acuerdo con las condiciones que tendrías que cambiar los colores?
Y no habrá la posibilidad de dejar el mismo con.
He really wants to see if he can keep the color that is, he painted the house without knowing that it was in a historical district, and he wanted to see if there's a way that he could keep it that way.
Okay. Do we need to see the presentation?
Sure. Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Margot Payne with DPD. This property is located at 836 North Avalon in Valentine Evergreen Historic District. It previously had an unpainted brick exterior with already painted stone columns and this single width driveway. The applicant painted the exterior brick, and he also hired a contractor to extend the driveway and create a parking pad for his family. The contractor failed to apply for necessary permits as well as a COA, and we issued a stop work order back in June. Front yard parking pads and driveways wider than 16 feet are not allowed per the Unified Development Code. So the applicant also requested a variance from the Board of Adjustment to retain the parking pad, but that request was denied yesterday at the BOA hearing. The board did approve the case with the condition that the parking pad and excess concrete would be removed and the driveway would be no wider than 12 feet. So here's the current site plan, but we don't need to hear this portion because the BOA has already rejected it. So we're just going to focus on the paint. But the site plan does not meet the guidelines. As we know, front yard parking pads are not allowed, and also painted brick is not allowed. So staff recommends approval for exterior alterations and site improvements with 5 conditions: that the applicant will apply for a permit from city engineering for a curb cut no wider than 12 feet. All concrete located beyond the front wall of the house shall be removed. The exterior masonry walls shall be painted either to match the original brick as closely as possible or another earth tone appropriate for the Tudor-style home. Muted shades of red, orange, brown, or green shall be considered for approval by staff prior to the issuance of the COA. The paint scheme of the home shall consist of at least 2 colors that differentiate between the brick masonry and the wood and stone architectural details. And here is the site plan that would be approved at this point with a 12-foot wide driveway and curb cut. And then this also shows the blue color that's currently on the house. So at this point, Mr. Simone is just contesting the paint color change. So that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners have any questions of staff? No? Okay. Let's see. So does he want to make, yes, you have 5 minutes to speak on this on behalf of.
Tengo 5 minutos para hablar, pues, o sea, la razón que quiero dejar, o sea, así como ahorita, como lo de ayer, pues tengo que trabajar duro para quitar eso, o sea, buscar una persona que me pueda hacer el trabajo así, y pues imagínense, tengo que hacer una inversión muy grande para poder, digamos, pintar la casa otra vez, porque pues la verdad no es fácil pintarlo y tan siquiera que me ayudaran a dejar con esto. Y la verdad, en eso de la pintura, pues realmente eso sí nosotros no sabíamos que sí era por, ¿cómo se llama?
Cuando la compraste.
Ajá, cuando la compramos, pues no sabía nada.
Okay, so he wants to say that unfortunately when he purchased the house, he was not aware that it was in a historical district. He did not know that he had to pull permits for painting and also with concrete. The contractor never mentioned anything about permits or that it was in a historical district. He did spend a lot of money on getting the house painted along with the concrete. He does feel like it is going to be really expensive having to hire someone to remove the concrete, but also turn around and have to paint the house a color that would be suitable for this historic district. So he really just wants either time, or if you guys can work with him, because he really does want, it's going to be a big expense replacing the color.
Is he
Something
going to,
that is, suitable for the historic district.
is he going to live in this house?
Yes, he's currently living there. Yes.
Did he paint this himself or did he hire people?
El contratista hizo todo el trabajo, ¿verdad?
En la pintura, sí es una persona, o sea, es contratista.
Yes, the contractor did everything, the concrete and the paint.
Before he owned it?
Antes de que la compraras o después de que la compraste?
Eso después de que labramos la casa ya empezamos a...
After he purchased it, it was a fixer-upper, so he just
Okay.
painted.
Questions? Y'all have some questions for the gentleman? Okay. Nothing? Okay, we're going to close this public part, and then we're going to make a motion and speak to each other about it.
Okay, van a cerrar y van a hablar entre ellos. Thank you.
And there's nobody,
Madam Chair.
okay, we do have something? Okay, so hold off on that. Okay. Karen Edwards?
Yes, good afternoon.
State your name and address.
It's Karen Edwards, 1887 South Rainbow Drive, Memphis, Tennessee, 38107.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. As a representative of the Valentine Evergreen Community Association, I would plead with MLC staff to require that the paint for this home be either removed or modified. As you all most likely know, the VHED design guidelines prohibit painting of brick. It specifically states that in section 2.10.5 that all brick should be preserved with masonry features that contribute to the overall character of the building. And so it specifically states that painted brick is not allowed. There could be some options to have the paint removed, and that might be something that the applicant might want to consider. It might be even more cost-effective than actually having it repainted, and that certainly could be discussed with the client or the applicant. But as noted in the staff recommendations, choosing a color that's more in line with what's currently in the neighborhood would be what we, as our historic committee, would recommend. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do y'all have any questions? I doubt he'll want to come back up. Did you tell him? Did you tell him what she said? Okay. Does he want to have anything to say? Does he have anything to say?
Yeah, I was translating when she was speaking. He just wants to know, and how is it bothering her? But of course, we try to explain to him that it's in a historical district. So there's, rules and regulations that he must abide by.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to make a motion and talk. Okay. Could I have a motion for discussion?
Motion to move to discussion.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Discussion?
I mean, I agree with staff. It's an unfortunate situation.
Wonder wonder do we know who the contractor was that did this, and that is somebody that has done stuff in the area before?
We don't, because a permit was not pulled. But he had showed me the paperwork saying the contractor said he would pull the permits, but he did not. So we don't have that information. We could certainly get it and keep it on file, because there are a number of contractors to do that, unfortunately. But there's nothing really we can do from permitting side, since a permit was not pulled to begin with, and the violation is with the property.
Okay.
Is there a timeline for remediation?
We talked about 1 year, based on the COA being good for a year. And we spoke about that yesterday after BOA, and that it could be renewed after that. But usually landmarks requires a year.
Okay.
I know personally, I know we show leniency on certain occasions, particularly if it's a homeowner or anybody like that honestly didn't know. But I do believe that in this case, it is someone representing a company, a development company of sorts, perhaps going through homes that are there, buying it up and then fixing it up and then selling it again. And for those kind of instances, I feel like they should be cognizant of the neighborhoods that they are deciding to attempt to improve homes in. And it does cause me to be a little bit more stringent on the lines, because this is a repeat thing that could happen as it progresses. So I'm in full favor of staff's recommendations personally in this kind of instance.
Staff recommendations, yeah.
Yeah, I would echo what the commissioners have said. I agree with Commissioner Gill. It is an unfortunate situation, and I appreciate the homeowner's desire and efforts to improve his property. But the guidelines are pretty clear, and I think the other concerning thing to me is that the color is so out of character with the rest of the historical palette of colors. So I agree. I support with staff's position.
Where do we stand? I saw the recommendations for colors, because I guess the difficult part for some people when they come before us is that it's sitting between paint and brick. So, probably confusing and not clear. So are staff, or are we willing to extend the colors I see on here? I'm in the wrong one. Hold on. I saw on here red, orange, brown, green, but I see in here yellow and gray. Are we open to, I see some green, like olivey color. Are we open to opening that up or adding to?
The color palette?
Acceptable colors?
Certainly, we'd be open to suggestion. We had been in the past just saying that the brick should be painted to match the brick as closely as possible, but we're trying to open it up to more earth tones to allow the homeowner to have a little bit more say in what their house will look like, and to avoid just having these matte red houses. It's better than bright white, which is what we're seeing a lot, but this was our attempt to bring in an appropriate color that didn't match originally, but may have in the past been appropriate at the time the home was built. So grays and whites that are really popular now would not have been seen on this house when it was built. So we as staff are very open to other options, because this is a really hard case we face again and again. But the whites and the grays that are really popular wouldn't be in that palette.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a good point. I appreciate the additional guidance. It is a fair point that we want to make it a little bit more flexible. You don't want monotony. You also don't. So I appreciate the effort to expand the options. Also, give it some individuality for the homeowner. I'm not sure. I know that we can maybe reference a historic paint deck. I know Benjamin Moore has a great historic selection. that might be a more broad option, but maybe there's some latitude with staff approval. Y'all kind of, I think the words muted is really important to me. That kind of gives some direction, but then some subjectivity to both the homeowner and then staff approving it. I think the effort is guidance, not necessarily prescriptive, which is good. And maybe we should. I'm trying to think through your question about how the homeowner might perceive. Are they limited to just these colors, or is yellow an option, for instance? So I don't know how to address that in terms of a condition. But in I would just say maybe my interpretation of this is that they're trying to have some flexibility and maybe leaving it up to staff to make the final decision is enough? Question mark.
I don't even think that this is a question about the color per se. I think he's just trying to see whether or not he can leave paint up because of the expense to make it even happen. I didn't perceive that color or anything like that was a question for him. I'm sure he wishes that he had have known that there was color selection options before he proceeded with the baby blue. So,
fair point.
In this particular case, I think it's just that, and I feel that the timing may be the most appropriate response, allowing them that time. And then if that can't be made at that time, then for him to come back and ask for an extension, showing that there has been actual progress made to remedy this.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay. So do we have, carry on with the motion as stands, or do you want to change something?
I'll do a motion.
Do we need to, well, before we do we need to add the timeline, like the 12-month timeline to the conditions?
There is automatically
Or is that
1 year.
already understood?
Automatic? It doesn't have to be explicit in here.
You're welcome to add it. It is included in every single COA approval letter we issue, that if a permit is not pulled within a year, then it expires.
Okay. So we call for a vote?
Okay. Mr. Winter,
Yes.
Ms. Love, Mr. Gill,
Yes.
Ms. Doss, Ms. Strong,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
and Chair Tucker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Our next case is item number 9, COA 2023-160,
That one.
227 Stonewall Street in the Evergreen
9.
Historic District.
Is the applicant present? Could you state your name and address, please?
Michael Seeker, 227 Stonewall Street.
Okay, could you raise your right hand? Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, thank you. Have you read the staff report?
I have.
Are you in agreement with their conditions?
I agree with conditions 1, 2, and 5, and am not in agreement with 3 and 4.
1, 2, 5, and not 3, 4?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, could we have a staff report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Subject property is 227 Stonewall Street in Evergreen Historic District. This is a contributing 2.5-story Greek revival style home built in 1910s. And Mr. Seeker is requesting a COA approval for site improvements to install a new brick wall to enclose the side yard of the property. Here you can see that there is a wooden fence enclosing the right side yard of the property. And here is the proposed side yard plan. The applicant is seeking to install a brick wall with a small pedestrian gate on the left side of this wall to have access. And some of you might remember that Mr. Seeker actually obtained a COA approval back in 2019, and this approval included a brick wall with wrought iron details in the middle of brick columns. But During construction, the existing wooden fence was built to provide safety and enclose the side yard, but it hasn't been removed after construction was completed. So we are hearing this again to approve a different kind of brick wall that the applicant is proposing. Here is the wall details that the applicant is currently proposing. And these walls have kind of hit and miss brick pattern that has small gaps in between brick laying. And it's about 6 feet tall with 2 feet tall knee walls and columns in about every 14 feet. And here is the proposed gate detail, which shows a pedestrian gate. So the proposal does not meet the Evergreen Historic District design guidelines. The side yard fence is first not visually compatible with the surrounding environment. This block of stone wall has more open front yards with no fences or wrought iron fences. And we agree that given the existing condition of the lot, which has a very large side yard and front yard, a front yard fence or wall may be appropriate if it retains the openness of this block of Stonewall Street. I also would like to mention that Evergreen has a section that further details front yard fences, and which reads front yard fences are not in keeping with the open park-like stretches on either side of the street. And they strongly recommend that any front yard fencing to be open fencing, and where the side yard fence joins the house should be back of the midpoint of the house's width. So we recommend approval of this request with 5 conditions. First condition is to have the wall to be appropriate materials such as brick, stone, or wrought iron, and the brick to be of traditional size and dimensions. Condition number 2, new front wall and pedestrian gate shall be maximum 6 feet in height, and the brick columns of the wall shall be maximum 6.5 feet in height. And condition number 3 that Mr. Seeker does not agree with has 2 options. First, to install a decorative front yard wall with similar details and conditions as the previous COA approval had, utilizing brick or stucco and wrought iron materials. Or B, to install a decorative front yard wall with the current proposed details, but relocate the wall to be in line with the front wall of the existing structure to be set back from the sidewalk. And fourth condition is to have the applicant to inform the staff of their choice regarding condition number 3 in writing before we issue the COA. And 5, any change or deviation from the approval shall be submitted to the Landmarks Commission for review and approval. And I would like to point out what was approved back in 2019. We had this brick wall with wrought iron details to come up to about 28 feet setback from the sidewalk to enclose this side yard. And here's the details that were previously approved with, I think this was a stucco walls and columns with wrought iron in the middle, but we can agree that stucco or brick would be appropriate. So this concludes my staff presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Don't have any questions for staff? Questions for staff? Okay. And sir, you have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Commissioners. So as the staff report indicates, my wife and I submitted plans for this 4 years ago. Since then, we've been constantly doing work to the home. We've had the opportunity to look at the temporary wooden fence for roughly 4 years, and frankly determined that that is a horrible look. I'm surprised that one of the conditions would allow a brick fence to go in the same spot as that. With the benefit of hindsight and more time to review it, we spent a lot of time going around both Evergreen neighborhood, Central Gardens, up and down the parkways, really all over Memphis, where there are historic homes with masonry fences, and came to the conclusion that we could put together a better proposal than what we originally started with. There's 3 primary drivers that led us to change our design. One is privacy. So in the 4 years that we've lived in the home, on a monthly basis, we typically have one, if not several people, ride bikes, walk, or drive into our driveway and go up to our gate and peer through it to see what they can see. Having an open fence across the front of the property would basically put our whole yard on display. Since the original application, we've also had 2 small children, so that's now a bigger concern than it was in 2019. Second is just the overall design. Again, we looked at many homes of similar age and stature of ours, and feel that what we've presented here is a considerable improvement upon our initial submission, which has already been approved. It fits better with the cadence of the street. What's shown on the screen here are a couple of photos of the home just down the street from us at 450 Stonewall. It has a much smaller side yard than we do, but a very similar style masonry fence that comes off the side, comes forward, and then returns back. A couple points of note is that this fence comes much closer to the sidewalk than what we've proposed. Ours is at least 10 feet further back from the sidewalk than what this is. We did attempt to not compromise, but provide some aesthetic of openness with the slotted brick as opposed to a solid brick wall. And then the final item is cost. We did get a quote a couple months ago. We were getting ready to undertake this project. The first quote that we got for the ironwork, just the ironwork, is prohibitive for the whole originally proposed fence. It exceeds the total cost of what we've already, or what this application proposes, and that's not including all the brick, stucco, stonework, et cetera. So again, we agree with the staff conditions 1, 2, and 5. We disagree with 3 and 4, and would ask the committee to vote on the application as is, without the conditions 3 and 4. If the staff finds this application inappropriate, we'll go back to the drawing board. We're not going to build a fence straight across or what we originally proposed. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioners have questions for the applicant?
What color brick is the fence going to be? As showing a red, and then I'm seeing a sort of brownish happening in the background with the carriage house, and then the house itself is like a mellow yellow, very mellow tone. So
yeah, good question. We went to Christie Cut, and we're currently deciding between a tumbled paver that would have a rough sort of historic look to it, or reclaimed brick that would be more orangey and brown, typically of what you would find of an original fence throughout one of the historic neighborhoods. We can't use the same brick that's on the carriage house because it's got cord centers, and so when you do a offsetting slotted design, you'd have holes in the middle that would be visible. It just would be
I was just thinking because I know one of the bigger concerns is the aesthetic connectivity of your space plus this, and I would not want it to look hodgepodge at all. And right now, the description, I'm like, I'm having mental thoughts of trying to coordinate it together for the moment. So that, to me, that is probably one of the bigger aspects, and I think that maybe some of the concern was, from what I heard, is just that connection that you have between what you're proposing and then what your whole property right now is giving aesthetically to this neighborhood, and making sure that all of that coincides, not just, hey, somebody next door has this particular thing, so I'm going to use that as the inspiration. It's like, yeah, but can the inspiration match your space? So I don't know if that's just a matter of you finding something that is more conducive tonal wise with what you have going on, and not just like, because when you said orange, I'm like,
we talked about painting the wall to match the house, which is original. It's a yellow brick. I've looked extensively for that brick, and it's not something we would have to have it custom made, which I didn't even attempt to quote that. The brick on the carriage house, it would not really be visible in the same plane as this fence in any way.
It's still visible, though. I mean, we're not talking about, we never, ever, ever, ever see a space in elevation flat on. So, I mean, you can't negate the fact that we will see said carriage house in the background. I'm just saying.
We talked about painting it or doing some kind of a wash to it or something, but honestly, I think that would...
To your fence or to the carriage house? To the fence?
We have a considerable amount of hardscaping in the back as well that matches the carriage house, and it looks very nice. You don't see, the brick on the home is only on the facade. The rear of it is stucco, and so the glimpse that you get, or for the people that like to come up our driveway and look through our gate, you do see a good chunk of two different bricks, but mostly what you see is the main brick on the front of the house.
So has that been presented to the staff, that your concept of the wash over it too? Or because, I mean...
It is not. I mean, my wife and I discussed it, and we don't particularly want to do that. It is something that we would consider doing, but I think a reclaimed brick fence, as we've designed it, would look fantastic. So that's what we've presented and what we're asking for approval for.
How long have y'all been working on this house? I remember it.
4 years, nonstop.
I think there was a time when I didn't even know there was a house back there.
Yeah, at the time that we made the original application, you couldn't see the home from the street. Part of the consideration for revising our plans is that, now we've had 4 years to look at a blank slate of a yard and reconsider what we originally proposed. But yes, taking down the overgrowth makes a big difference.
Well, it's been a remarkable transformation.
Thank you.
And I'm sure remarkable for that neighborhood to save that huge piece of history there.
I did not think to request letters of support from the neighbors, but I can assure you they are all very happy with what we've done and what we proposed here. And if need be, I can come back with letters of support at a later date.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Was it, just a quick question, was this house in disrepair when you all bought it?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was in considerable disrepair. I think if you look at the assessor's records and see what we paid for it, that demonstrates how bad shape it was. As Commissioner Tucker indicated, you couldn't see the home from the street. The entire, I likened it to the old growth in Overton Park. The entire lot was, from every corner was completely covered. There was an original carriage house that we had no choice but to tear down. It was effectively half fallen down when we purchased the property. So we've sunk ungodly amounts of money and time and effort into bringing it back to what it is. And really what we've got left now is the front. We have finally gotten the dumpster out of the yard, but we've got a fence and landscaping things to do on the front. And that's where we're hoping to keep things progressing.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to close it and then talk, take a motion and talk. Can I have a motion from the,
How about a motion to approve COA 2023-160
have a second?
for the purposes of discussion?
Yes,
Second.
2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, discussion?
I'll start. Unless somebody else- oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I agree with many of the points that Commissioner Love brought up. It's something I also asked in the design review meeting about how, considering the expanse of the wall or the fence and the colors, which are cream or yellow on the house, and then the secondary structure, which is the garage, which has more of a brownish color, but in the application you have it as reddish brick. How is that sort of going to tie in, considering they are on a larger lot, one of the largest lots on the street on Stonewall?
Can y'all understand?
Oh, sorry about that.
It's on.
I agree with the comments that Commissioner Love brought forth about tying in or taking into consideration. You have the garage, the secondary structure, which has brownish brick. You have the primary structure of the house, which has yellow creamish brick. And then this is on a larger lot, one of the largest lots on the street. And you have the wall that's being proposed, so the fence wall out of brick, and they're proposing a reddish color. How is that going to sort of tie in, look aesthetically? It's just something to take into consideration. I think more thought should be on that as well.
Do we need to add condition? Wait, there's.
Talk in. We need to talk to.
I was looking at it again before I said something out of turn. So do we need to add to the condition just the colors then to make the colors consistent, or can we condition that? Well, we just talked about colors in the last case, so does it need to be explicitly written?
We can definitely amend the condition. I believe it was the first condition or the second condition. Yeah, it was the first condition. Appropriate materials such as brick, stone, or wrought iron, and brick shall be of traditional size, color to match the existing home or the carriage house, and traditional dimensions. We can definitely add it to the language to have some say in the color.
I think we should.
I'll need to talk. Go
I
ahead.
also think adding the option of the wash on the brick would be good too, to give them that option of the wash on the brick, since they're dealing with two different brick color schemes on the secondary structure and the primary structure.
Should we say the applicant shall have the option to have a wash over the brick or paint the brick in a similar color or matching color?
I mean, honestly, as much work and heart that's gone into this place. Not to minimize anybody else that's worked on their own, even smaller places, but I'd like to allow him some. Yes.
I can promise if it doesn't look good after we recycle.
Yeah.
It's hanging and washed.
The public hearing's closed.
So however we want to put in for some of the flexibility to work with staff. Put that.
I agree to work with staff with the brick color selection.
I agree with you.
Okay.
So I believe if we can clear this up, and if you did want to hear from the applicant, of course, you can open up the public
We
hearing.
can.
But the public hearing
If
is
we need
closed
to.
right now. So, so the first condition, no front yard wall, and just to the end of it, as Aisha said, and the brick shall be of traditional size, comma, color, and dimensions. We could say the client or the applicant shall have the option to wash the brick or select a color to be approved by staff.
Because I think the overall goal is to make sure that it does sync up well, has that option to sync up well with the existing, particularly all the work that's already been done on both structures. So,
We need to talk to him anymore, or are we good?
I mean, we could allow him to express,
Pardon me?
we could allow that expression of whatever was wanting to be said.
So if we close it,
You can open it back up if you have 2/3 vote or nobody objects, then you can open it back up.
Before we open it up, I'd like to bring up another issue. I'm concerned about the location of the fence. It's pulled much further into the front yard than appears to be appropriate according to the neighborhood design guidelines. In fact, the letter attached to the back of the staff report is from the Evergreen Historic District Association, and they request that the fence not come further forward than the existing wood fence in order to not break up sight lines and the open park-like stretches on the other side of the street. I'd like to point out specifically, I know that, and they also recognize that this is an odd proportioned lot, which I agree with, but I was looking at the aerial of the site, and you can tell that if this fence is installed where the sketch indicates, the fence would be in front of the house next door. And I don't think that's appropriate, and I think the guidelines support that. So I actually propose, I agree with the color discussion, by the way. I think continuity is good, but I actually propose that we remove condition 3A from this, from the motion.
And basically keep the fence where, following the line of what the wooden fence is, instead of extending that kind of backyard, side yard.
Correct.
So to clarify, the current fence design location was approved in 2019?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, no. These details that you see on the screen was approved. With the site plan, here is shown as having a setback about 30 feet, 28 to 30 feet from the sidewalk. I believe it was still coming in front of the neighboring structure's front wall, but this was an open fence design with wrought iron.
Okay.
So that was approved previously.
So there was a lot more openness going between, so it wouldn't have been a complete blocking versus if he goes with this brick one, it's going to be a little bit more visual. So I guess that would be the compromise if you're not going with the wrought iron that's coming forward and allowing that transparency over across the yard. If you're going to go with this brick pattern, it needs to set back to the, essentially in line with the plane of the structure, in line with the actual building, it seems like.
Correct.
So I think that is the option between the two. You can't have them both.
I agree. And I think the brick wall that's proposed now with the leave-outs is fine as long as it's in line with the structures and doesn't block, for instance, the view of the neighbor's house.
okay. What were you going to say?
What is it, hold on, with Natasha? Are you proposing to leave 3A or still delete it?
I think it sounds like if he's going to go with this particular design, this brick design, then the A would be stricken.
Yeah, I think
But if he's going back to the previous design, then there's no need, right, basically?
That's what.
Right. I understand, but he
My
proposed.
particular concern is that the previous approval appears to show that he can bring the wall more forward. But maybe staff can clarify this. Is 3A, that would allow him to install the decorative fence in the location as originally proposed with the transparency of the wrought iron, but not with a brick wall with leave-outs, correct?
Yes. So 3A was specifically following the previous approval
Strictly.
strictly with the decorative wrought iron in between brick columns.
Got it.
And 3B was actually following the recommendations that we got from Evergreen Historic District Association.
Perfect. So I think we're saying the same thing. 3A can stay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, there was talk if we wanted to have him come up and say anything, or are we good with what we're? Are we? What do you want?
I'm good, but if he needs to say something.
If anybody wants to hear from him, then we would either need to vote if there's no objection. No objection?
No objection.
Okay.
Did you want to come back up?
Yeah,
And
so
this
just a point of
would, this would be
clarification.
a specific question and answer
Session. Yeah.
Okay, so did you want to, I guess, make a comment on the
I
fence?
think it started with the discussion about the option to wash or pick a similar color and to work with staff and staff approved. That's where it started. So, but, I mean, if anybody has any specific questions or any questions, honestly, but.
Don't have it?
One, are you good with these changes, what we've been discussing? Are you okay with them?
So, as I indicated earlier, we already have approval for what was submitted in 2019. We pulled a permit within a year. We still have open permits on the home. As far as I know, I wouldn't be here if that was what we were going to be doing. It's not what we want to do. I think what we've proposed is better. It's pulled back considerably further from the sidewalk, even more so than the home down the street that I illustrated, which in our time walking up and down the street, it does not stand out. You don't really notice that wall until you stop to think, hey, there's a wall there. I feel like ours would be back even further from that. Well, what is wider, it's not going to stand out as far. No, I don't. I mean, I think what we proposed is a good plan, and I would ask y'all to consider it as it is. If you don't feel it's a good plan, vote that way, and we'll come back with something else.
Chairwoman, I have a clarifying question. I'm confused about something. The report includes a proposed site plan, but it shows the fence outboard of the porch. So that's why I'm concerned. Where are you proposing to put the fence?
Right there, where it's proposed.
I don't think that's allowed per the conditions, right?
I'm sorry.
Is this location shown on the screen allowed per the conditions as written?
It is not. So the conditions would not allow us to do what we
Got it. Okay.
So what the conditions stipulate is it would need to come straight across the front where the current temporary construction fence is.
Okay.
That we're also.
This would be allowed as the wrought iron.
As the
So I think
wrought
you were
iron,
asking
correct.
us that question. So.
Yeah, I know there's two things happening. You want to change the material and the design of the fence. And there's also, as it was previously approved in a different location.
Correct. We pulled it back closer to the home, further away from the street than what was originally approved. And
Using the brick fence with the leave outs. Is that what your intent is to put the fence in the further back location in line with the house?
Exactly what's drawn up there is
Yeah,
their intent.
I don't think you can do that.
That's why I'm here asking for landmarks approval.
Right.
What was previously approved was 10 or 15 feet further out than this, and I already have the approval to do that.
Okay.
So I guess back to the commissioners, I would say I still agree with the conditions 3A and 3B. Either, actually, I still don't like the location being forward of the porch no matter what. I still maybe would support pulling that option.
And
I
Madam Chair,
support-
if I may suggest, if there are no other questions.
Yeah, she has one, I think.
I don't have a question for the applicant.
Okay, no
It's
other
for-
questions for the applicant.
Do you have an
then-
applicant question?
No, for the commission.
Okay, so
Thank
So
you.
we will close the public.
Close
hearing
the public.
portion and Discussion. Okay, thank you.
So based on what we've discussed and what we've heard from the applicant, I think we should revert back to what you suggested earlier, removing 3A and just leaving 3B on the application with the rest of the conditions, because they stated that they prefer this design that's in here, and they don't really care for what was originally approved in 2019, and that COA was only valid for a year. So that's why they're before us again to get approval to do it right.
I agree.
The permit's no longer.
okay. So are y'all for changing that and taking that out?
I agree with Tasha.
So I believe, was it the discussion of going back to what Mr. Winter had said earlier? I think that's what Ms. Strong said, is deleting the option for 3A and just having 3B become 3 at that point. Okay. The only caveat to that I would suggest, and we can deal with this from an approval standpoint. The COA was approved with these things and the permit was pulled. We need to see if the fence was ever part of that, but that was 4 years ago. A COA expires in a year, so there may be approval for that, but that would be something we could deal with internally, and if it needs to come back. But we could do this as suggested and delete 3A and.
See, and I don't
3B.
have a problem with leaving 3A in, but
Do y'all want to vote on that, or is it without objection, or?
Let me say, so the only reason I'm suggesting removing it because
I
he
can't
said,
hear you. Go ahead.
the reason I suggesting removing it is because he said several times that he didn't care for 3A, they don't want to do 3A.
Okay.
And to limit or
I was
prevent
just trying to give me some
confusion.
more options.
I think we were all trying to give them options, but he stated consistently that they don't care for 3A. So that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I personally just don't think the position of the fence is appropriate, and I think it's against the guidelines being forward of the porch specifically.
And
So he's opened the can of worms, so.
right. And as Aisha pointed out in the staff report, they have a special section.
I can hear.
As Aisha pointed out in the staff report, they have that special section that talks about fences and how it should be open in a park light. And this is an example property or landscape in the neighborhood that it definitely applies to.
Madam Chair, do we want to vote on whether to strike 3A? And then we
That's
have
fine.
the condition 1 that was with no objection with the either color or wash and to be approved by staff. And then it sounds like we do need to have a vote on whether to eliminate 3A. So if we want to do that.
Mr. Ragsdale?
Yes.
If I may. If we strike condition number 3A, we should also strike condition number 4, because that's the condition that says applicant shall give us their opinion or whichever option they choose.
Correct.
So
Yes.
that should automatically be deleted as well.
Yes, that's correct. So B would become 3 and then 5 would become 4. Okay. Let's vote on that. Madam Chair, if you're ready for that.
Pardon me?
Are you ready to vote?
Sure.
Okay, and yes means that we strike it, and no means we keep it.
Okay.
Just that way it's clear, okay? Okay. Mr. Winter?
Yes.
Ms. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
No.
Ms. Doss?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
No.
Motion carries. So B becomes 3 and 5 becomes 4. Okay. discussion on anything?
I don't want to belabor this, but I guess one more option. I think the opposition was for the new wall coming beyond the porch. If it was in line with the porch, would there be opposition to that? I know the guidelines, yeah, but we're going with what the guidelines state. No deviation. Right, I understand.
Well, B is front yard details were located. Is that different? Oh, because you're giving them a little bit more room to go
Right, it's
beyond.
just in line with the rest of the architecture along the street.
Gotcha. So it would be changing what is now 3, or it was originally B, instead of saying the front wall of the existing primary structure to be in line with the existing porch.
Which is in line with the rest of the porches along the street.
Correct.
Is that
If
more
that's a
amenable?
A motion to amend. Is there any objection to that?
No.
I don't mind that. It's not as bad. It does give. It's about literally a halfway split. My concern was getting the fence beyond the primary structure. I think typically it would be in line with the wall, not necessarily the front of the porch. But in this case, the way that the applicant has proposed to detail the fence, where it comes off the wall and then out, and he's got a little gate going from the side of the porch, I think that makes it feel appropriate, and it still would not be too far in front of neighbors, so as to block a view or to make them feel like they've been boxed in.
Well, honestly, if you look at the original survey, that was part of the first effort, the first COA approval. That fencing was in line with the edge of the porch. So that's just going back to what it originally was prior to any of this, prior to them first embarking on this adventure.
But it looks like the original fence came out 46 feet from the wall, so that's pretty proud of the porch, if I'm reading that correctly.
No, I mean, not the original approved. Like if you look at the survey, you'll see a fence line faintly in the background.
Oh, where is that?
It's like on page 10.
Oh, please. Yeah. Are we? This?
Yeah, do you see the fence line in this?
Oh, this.
Yes.
That dash. Got it. Okay, yeah.
So I think that's where Commissioner Walker was proposing this fence.
To the original location.
Right.
The fence that was part of the house.
Yep, great point.
When it was built.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. Well, without objection, we will add or modify condition number 3 to be in line with the porch, the front porch of the primary structure.
Yeah, front of the porch.
The front of the porch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Ready to vote? Okay. Ms. Doss?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Ms. Love?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Mr. Winter?
Yes.
And Chair Tucker?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
And our next item is item number 10, COA 2023-161, 1049 North McLean Boulevard in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
Is the applicant present? Okay.
Okay, Madam Chair, I do not believe the applicant is present.
Okay.
So as we did with item number 3, we can hold it and just see if they show up. So our last case then would be item number 15, COA 2023-170, 884 Kensington Place in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
Is the applicant present? The applicant is not present.
Okay, well, let's see if anyone for item number 3 is here. COA 2023-150, 984 East Rainbow. Well, I guess.
The applicant present?
Okay, we will notify them of the next hearing and ensure that they're here. We do have the people in opposition for Kensington. If you wanted to hear anything from them,
It's fine. But is that normal to do?
You can. I think we just wouldn't want to get into a lot
I think
of
they would need to
discussion.
come back, though.
Right, they would still need to come back.
But we can give them the,
They can just state their
Stance.
You might remember that.
right,
Correct.
Should they not be able to
okay,
do that?
if they want to. Robert Lenzini? Is Mr. Lenzini here? The applicant, just so y'all know, the applicant is not present, but we were inviting you to come and make your statement. Up here, yes.
Yes, there. Sorry. That's what we need to figure.
She,
Get on up there.
let him. Natasha suggested a staff report. Do we need the staff report?
My name is Robert Lenzini.
Okay. And could
I've been
you,
a resident of Vecca
sir,
since the late 80s.
can I get your address too?
I can't hear you.
Can I have your?
Address? Tell him.
899 Kensington Place.
Okay.
What's the case number, please?
1715.
And
15.
Oh, okay.
oh, I thought they told me to
Yeah,
come
I
over
did.
here.
I'm sorry. There's a lot going
But
on.
I'm not sure. I mean, I understand what Ms. Strong is saying. I think that, okay, yeah. I think we would just want to hear a few statements from any of the opposition, just because
Do
they
I need
came
to
down.
swearing
Sure.
in? Okay.
So, would you like him to go ahead? Okay, so she's going to swear you in.
And I apologize for any confusion, guys.
Okay.
There's no
There
bias.
we go.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I've got 20% loss in one ear and 25 on the other.
Just raise your right hand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
There you go. Okay, could you make your statement, please?
I feel like I'm wasting my time because all the work is complete.
Yeah.
So, and my question to the council and the other people here, why was the work allowed to proceed before the regulatory bodies ruled on it? That makes no sense. So I'd like to point out a few things, and one that's not on there. But the work was finished on the 18th, and the 18th was the last day to oppose it.
And Madam Chair, I can answer that.
The work was complete by
Correct.
then.
Correct. Yeah, the work was done without a permit, and we issued a citation for that, so we stopped the work, and that's why we're here to try to deal with what has been done. So that's what, yeah, that's
It
why.
wasn't stopped in time.
Well, correct.
It was complete.
That's right. And we did cite them, but.
Be aware of what's going on. And my council person is not here for this neighborhood. But notice what the after, can you change what we're looking at? I want to see this. Who's running the projector? Can you show
One of
the?
y'all.
I'd like to show the beautiful.
Oh, the previous structure? Yeah, there.
That's style that's indigenous to the neighborhood. And that's the reason why the neighbors and everybody took measures to prevent this sort of stuff. That has been painted over. And that was not on the permit that has work to be done. You can see the work on the front and the sides and the chimney and the windows. The windows are a violation. Painting the bricks, that's a violation. I don't know if stone is included in that, but it's atrocious what has ended up. And my neighbor will be next. She lives next door. So, and Becca is active, trying to prevent this kind of stuff. And it keeps going. And it's up to you folks to stop it, I think. That's why I'm here.
Okay, and Mr. Lindsay, we can just, you've been here a little while, I know, but if you wouldn't mind just waiting a little bit after this, and we can speak and let you know what we're doing and what the process is, and so that we can let you, kind of give you some insight into what we are doing. So if you don't mind just waiting till after this, and we'll talk. Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time, and hope my voice was heard. I know it was.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, Kimberly Charles. Could you state your name and address, please?
Kimberly Charles, 878 Kensington Place.
Okay. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Well, yeah, I've lived in my house for 12 years now, and I know this company purchased the home 2 years ago, maybe, or so, and they just don't care, and the yard was growing out of control. I called 311, they came, cut it. No, they didn't put anybody in it, they haven't done anything. I know they've had it for probably since 2020. And they just now decided to do something with it, but they didn't go through the proper steps to get it to do it. And they're an investment group, so I'm sure they have a lot of properties throughout Memphis. And I know they know that they're supposed to do certain things and get permits before they start work. And it seems like the way they didn't show up to this hearing, they just don't care. They're just gonna do what they wanna do and step all over the neighbors. Bring down possibly my property value because I'm right next door to it, and it looks very cheap. They took away all the historical integrity of the house, and it just looks very bad. And I just wanted to, when I got the notice, I didn't know anything about the certificate of appropriateness that was needed to do this work. So I'm glad that this situation brought it to my attention in case I want to do something. But I just feel like what they did was wrong, and they should have to face consequences. I wish they could remove the paint. I know the former homeowner, she would not be happy if she could see what they've done to the place. I mean, you guys put a sign up that said stop working, but they have worked every day. They never stopped. And, I just feel like there's no repercussions and we just gotta suffer. And I bought the home in a historical neighborhood because of the historical character of the house. I love it. I love the aesthetics of my block. So this just really brings down what they've done to the house. So I'm just glad I was able to speak my piece, and I hope something is done to stop this from happening.
Thank you so much. Did y'all have any questions? I'm so sorry. And I'm sorry that he or she is not here for us to listen to and for them to listen to you guys as well.
Thank you.
So that's the original.
Yes.
Flip through. I think think that was all.
So, yeah, Madam Chair, that's all the speakers, and we don't have the other applicants, so we will send them notices that they, oh, yes.
I did want to say thank you to the speakers for coming down here today. And like Chairwoman Tucker said, sorry that the applicant and owner was not here. So thank you so much. You know, you took time out of your schedule, your day to come down to a 2 o'clock meeting, and it's way past that time now. And thank you so much for representing VECA and the Valentine Evergreen Historic District neighborhood. And you are a testament to why the neighborhood in VECA fought so hard to become a local landmarks district. And you are a testament to your words and what you said are a testament to how we care about the architecture, the landscapes, streetscapes, and the character that you find on homes. Because we had a case earlier, whether large or small, there is beauty, or you can find beauty in a home. And what they've done, as you stated, is unfortunately so prevalent nowadays. They did not pull a COA or get a certificate of appropriateness, and as you stated, permit. They didn't even pull a permit probably, and they were still doing work when the stop work order was issued. So in the future, if you see something like that, where a stop work order is up, or you see something that's questionable, and you want to know, do they have a permit to do this, or what are they doing? You can definitely look up, go to the develop901.com website, put in the address for the house and the street, and you want to look under planning and zoning, and you want to look under construction enforcement. You want to look under both of those tabs. And if you do not see any permit activity, or if it's permit activity that's been 10, 15 years ago, you know something is wrong, and they are doing work that they should not be doing, and they have not followed the process. And you are encouraged to contact Landmarks at memphistn.gov, landmarks at memphistn.gov, or call them at 901-636-6619 to let them know what's taking place, to report it. And you're also encouraged to copy your neighborhood association, VECA. So thank you so much for coming down here today. And you just, you reminded us why we sit up here and why we care. So thank you so much.
And it breaks your heart. I mean, it breaks my heart to see that such a lovely structure. Breaks my heart to see what was done to it. Thank you. Okay, that was it. Are there any additional announcements?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. Our next meeting will be held 11/16.
Yes, the 16th.
23, and I hereby